Step number one in healing from narcissistic abuse is increasing your awareness. So your awareness of your own needs and what it is you deserve and what you can expect from a healthy relationship. Validation is step number two, where you need to tell someone what's happening. You need to tell someone what you've experienced. You need to talk about it and not to the narcissist. A big part of this is going to be understanding their limitations and understanding that you are not going to get your emotional needs met by them. They don't care about your emotional needs. They are only concerned with their own emotional needs. Their involvement with you is purely for that reason. If they don't feel that you can meet an emotional need of theirs, they won't have you around. You need to get your emotional needs met somewhere else. You need someone to recognize and validate your experience. They'll minimize your pain. They don't see you accurately. They see you as an extension of themselves. They project onto you all of their flaws. You are who they need you to be. And so if you have been relying on them to mirror back to you who you are, then you have a very skewed idea of who you are, what you deserve, and probably who they are and what else is available out there. If you've been anywhere in any sort of close proximity to an unhealthy narcissist, you have been mistreated, you have been abused, because it's impossible to be in their midst and not be mistreated. And the only way to even come remotely close to it is to have really firm boundaries and not let them be crossed. And a person who doesn't even know that they're involved with the narcissist is not doing that. So if you are just coming to terms with the fact that you are involved with someone with malignant narcissism, you are already coming to it from a weakened standpoint. You've already not been living in reality, and you have already been abused and mistreated, and so things are going to get better for you. Even if you didn't realize how bad they were, they're going to get better now that you just recognize that you were in an unhealthy situation. The step in healing the narcissistic abuse is self-empowerment. And that is basically you've now come to terms with who they are. You have a better idea of who you are and what you deserve. You've set some really clear boundaries and you're not letting them be crossed. You basically have to get to a point where you just this is the deal breaker here. I can't go any further than this. You may not cross this line, and you have lines in the sand, and this will be a do or die situation in your relationship. Either you'll put these lines in the sand, and best to verbalize these in terms of I'm willing to, or I'm not willing to. I'm not willing to stay here if you're going to yell at me. Better that than to say you can't or you shouldn't or that kind of thing. Best to use I statements and just make it very clear. You're not saying anything. They can do what they want. They're a separate entity. But you, if they want to be around you, then they know that you are not willing to be abused. But here's the kicker. They don't want to change. They don't see anything wrong with the way things are going. And so chances are they're not going to meet you halfway. And so you have to be willing to walk away. You have to follow through on these things. For instance, it's your mother, say, and she wants you to come for Christmas, and you say, I would love to come for Christmas, Mom. I really want to see you. I miss you. But, just so you know, I'm not going to be able to stay. I'm not going to be willing to stay if you put me down in front of people, or if you start criticizing me, or if you yell at me or my kids. I won't be able to stay. But if we can avoid those kinds of things, I think it'll be a great time. Okay? You do that, and you have to follow through, because first of all, your children are watching, and I am telling you right now, the reason I'm on here, and the most important thing I think any of us can do, is to get this thing straightened out and start and calling things what they are, because our kids are watching. Our kids are identifying, are seeing what's going on, and it's not so bad. It's not so terrible if these things are going on and we've identified them, at least then. At least then. So if we have that conversation and we say, okay, Mom, I'm not going to be able to stay if you're going to yell at me or put me down. But if you don't do that, then I would love to. It'd be a great time. Your kids heard that. Now, when they see Grandma putting you down and you don't stay, it's not all bad. Okay? If before, when she was just putting you down and you were just putting up with it and getting upset, no one was talking about it. It was just all bad. There was no good lesson to come from that. Now, even when Grandma does bad, there can be a good lesson to come from it, because they can see it's not okay. You've identified that it's not okay. And you've shown that you're strong and that you will protect yourself, you will stand up for yourself, and you will stand up for them, and you will stand up for what's right. And so, best case scenario is Grandma doesn't do it. Grandma gets better. But there is a next best case, which is light years better than what was happening before. And that is that you've identified the problem and you've followed through and you've told your kids, you don't deserve to be treated poorly, neither do I, and we don't have to put up with it anymore. They're the problem, we're not the problem. And that's really important. We can't change them, but if we can at least be calling out what they're doing, that's really important. If we can be, identifying what they're doing, it's really important for our kids, and also chances are quite good that we're going to reduce the behavior, because people don't like to have their behavior predicted. If you say that to your mom, say for instance, it could very easily change the behavior because you've already anticipated it, and no one wants to have their behavior anticipated. No one wants to be predictable like that. You could go a long way towards correcting a problem. If this is a relationship that you think there is some hope, some chance of salvaging, then the other important thing, really important thing to do here is going to be catch them doing good. So when Mom doesn't put you down, when she catches herself and she's very nice and polite that time, you're going to fuss over her, and you're going to give her lots of narcissistic supply for doing the right thing. This was so fun this time. I had such a good time today. You can really be a lot of fun. Just make it a big deal that they've done the right thing. A very limited set of things we can do, and there aren't very many choices, but this is one thing you can do. When you see them, catch them doing good, make a big fuss over. We can get to the point where we get just so afraid, we get so used to them disappointing us that we aren't at all on the lookout for something. So we don't want to believe it. We don't want to compliment it because we don't trust it. And you shouldn't trust it. You shouldn't. But you should still compliment it. Compliment it and know that, it probably won't happen again. Or, go ahead and tell yourself all that stuff. But act like it's going to happen again. Act like you're reinforcing a good thing, and maybe it will. It's the only thing you can do. It's all there is to do. Like little kids, you are dealing with someone that is emotionally way less mature than your kids. This is about a 5-year-old that emotionally. So, you want to treat them about like a 5-year-old. If you need to search deep down for some compassion, you can. At least know that it seems to the best explanation we can come up with for where this came from. It seems it came from the same places that our dysfunctional behavior came from. The same sort of abuse that we endured, they likely endured as well, and it was just how they manifested it. So there can be some compassion there. That doesn't mean that you have to tolerate it. Doesn't mean it's okay. It doesn't mean that they aren't responsible for changing and growing. They certainly are. You need to put up with anything, or that's any kind of an excuse. It is just a little bit of understanding about where it came from. Think of their little inner child in there. Sometimes when they're at their worst, that can give you a little bit of compassion. But it's hard, and it's hard also for those of us who tend to err on the side of too much empathy. We don't want to get suckered in. So it's okay to have compassion for them, but you need to still have some protection of yourself and your kids and your standards, because you don't need to be abused by anyone. See you guys soon. Bye.